I am not teaching, I am publicly learning. But hi and welcome to Learning for the Life in UK test part 400. Prime Ministers, that is on page 169 while doing risk training, and if you participate in risk training, that's at your own risk. So there is Sir Robert Walpole. Now, and we suggested Prime Ministers mentioned in this book, not all. So, and he was the main minister because George I could speak good English to talk to Parliament. He was Prime Minister from 1721 until 1742. And the king or the monarch needed ministers because he needed to have more influence on the Parliament or the other or something like that. He had to ask, because of the Bill of Rights, he had to ask every year for money of the Navy and the Army. So he needed to talk to the people in the Parliament that they are giving the monarch what the monarch wanted. Then there was the Duke of Wellington, also known as the Iron Duke. He was the leader of British troops in the battle against Napoleon by the Battle of Waterloo in 1850. And he became Prime Minister at one time. Prime Minister. Just because of the microphone, if it's not coming onto the track, I'm always saying minister instead of minister. The pronunciation is on the I, on the first I. Minister. When there was Winston Churchill, what is better? These are the pages. No, he was from 1940 until 1950 the Prime Minister during the wartime. He made a couple of quotes. Everyone had a couple of quotes, but of him, some are known. For example, did he say in his opening speech as Prime Minister that he has nothing to offer but blood, sweat, and tears? That is the short form. And he also said that we're going to fight the Germans everywhere, at the beaches, in the landing grounds, on the airfields, where we can find the Germans, and they will never surrender. And he also said that never in the time of human history that had so many people so much to thank to so few. He said it a bit nicer. And I think, I first wanted to say this. When in 1945, the country led by him, so Britain, won the war, but the people wanted to change, and they voted the Labour government, and he was conservative. But then in 1951, he returned as a Prime Minister. It wasn't so clear for how long, maybe until 1964. Maybe they said it at one point here. He stepped down here in 1964. There's a Conservative government in the UK, 51 and 64. I don't know how long he stayed Prime Minister. So Winston Churchill, not a quote. And let's look. How much time do we have? We're going to end it now with the quotes. I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears and sweat. That was in 1940 at his first speech to the House of Commons. Then he said also to the House of Commons after Dunkirk, the evacuation of Dunkirk, there are 300,000 or so French troops, probably also some other troops. Also something said about British troops, because the British troops had fought and other forces had fought in France, and they were retreating because in the summer 1940, the German troops were advancing. There were 300,000 troops at the beach in Dunkirk. So Dunkirk is a city very much at the coast. It is the coast city, basically. And they were there and they were trapped. And they were trapped, but the Germans were not advancing for some reason that I heard. I don't know the reason, but they were not advancing, they were not attacking. And there wasn't a period of a couple of days, maybe even a few weeks, that they stayed there trapped. And when the people from Britain came over, with also, what did we call it? Leisure boats. And the private boats and also some military ships came over to take a couple of them on board and then to drive back to Britain, and that way they saved 300,000 people. And that was known as the Dunkirk spirit, and this motivation for that 300,000. As France fell, the British decided to evacuate British and French soldiers from France in a huge naval operation. Many civilian volunteers and small pleasure and fishing boats from Britain helped the Navy to rescue more than 300,000 men from the beaches around Dunkirk. So, and after that he said to the House of Commons, "We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills, we shall never surrender." And then he said also over the Battle of Britain, which was in the summer 1940 between the Germans, the Stukas, I don't know how they are called in English, and the British Spitfires and Hurricanes in the air with the Royal Air Force, which Britain won. This he said, "Never in the field of human conflict was so much out by so many to so few." And we will continue the next part of the Prime Ministers. Now we're going to do the wrist training, and if you participate in the wrist training, we're sitting on risk, having a good and stable stand. Having your arms next to us, hands on to fists, and we're bringing these fists down and up, and that is the spotlight. And we have 3 rules. The first rule is that we're stopping immediately as soon as we feel pain. The second rule is that we go only as far as we can go with a little bit of effort. And the third rule is that we're not overdoing. So that was the last time. Now to the flashlight. Flat hands next to us, and we're bringing them to the inside and to the outside. These are not flat hands, these are fists. The arms flat next to us. And the last time. Now the flat hands next to us, we're doing the magician to the inside and to the outside. Last time. Now the pancake flipper. Flat hands next to us, and we're bringing the palms up to the sky and the palms down to the ground. And again. We're doing quite a lot of exercises. The first ones are to warm up, but when you can break whenever you want, I'm going to announce 2 or 3 exercises to break. And the third rule, don't overdo it. You want just to strengthen, not to exhaust. There's next exercise, the T-Rex in the morning. No. The quick angle castle architect. Long hands out the fist, and we're bringing them to the inside. And up. To the outside. And down. To the inside. And down. To the outside. And that is it. Now the crab anxious to fever, and you can skip this exercise. One arm next to us, hand from to the fist, bringing this fist down in flexion, and we're pressing against it carefully with moderate force. Or less than moderate force. Moderate force under these circumstances. You're pulling a bit on the outside. You're pressing a bit from the top. Not on the bottom. And we're going to the next exercise. We're having again a hand next to us, hand formed to a fist, and we're bringing this fist down. And we're pressing carefully against it. Now we're pulling from the outside. And we're pressing from it. Open it with him. And that was the crab anxious to a fever. And now it's time for the rectangular castle architect of likelihood skip mistakes. Now we had it one for the T-Rex in the morning. Flat hands out, and we'll bring these flat hands down and up. You can skip this exercise. and up, and what was it? And now T-Rex and the gym. T-Rex and the gym exercise. We are having a tennis ball or just a strong hand if you don't have anything, and press onto it with moderate force. Release again, and press again. And release. Now for third and final time, press. And to the other side. And we're pressing again. And releasing. Yes, and we're pressing again. And releasing. And we're pressing up final time. That was the T-Rex in the gym. Now we're having the cautious big bang. Place the fingertips of one hand on top of the fingernails of the other hand. Press a bit. And we're opening slowly. And we're closing again slowly. One more time. A bit back the time. Now we're switching and we're opening slowly. And we're closing. Again opening. And closing. Let's make it one more time. Now we're doing the 4 Days new Synthesis Director. It's in front of us, and we are opening them, and we're closing them. One last time. And now the bascule bridge. Flat hands next to us, and we're bending them at the knuckles. And again. We're bending at the nuggets, we're holding it for 1 or 2 seconds. And we're going up. That was the last time. Now you can skip the next exercise again. First lesson. The frog testing the water temperature. Hands next to us. We're bringing them down with flat fingers, we're really behind her. And bring them up with strong fists into extension. Down with flat fingers. Now we are pretty much it. And up with strong fists. Down with flat fingers. Up with strong fists. Last time. Down with flat fingers. Up with strong fists. And now the ice axe. No, the claw. Flat hands next to us. And they're making claws. And we're opening it. And again, close, hold it for 1 to 2 seconds, and open again. And again, close, hold it 1 to 2 seconds, open again. And the last time, close 1 to 2 seconds, and open again. Now the ice axe. One hand, bend it again at the nugget, and press on top of it. Just careful. Okay. The other hand, ice axe, and press on top of it. And you can skip this exercise again. Arms in with strong fists, into flexion with fists, and long arms and into extension with flat fingers. And again, in strong fists, inside, and out, extension, flat fingers. And the last round, in flexion, out, extension. Last exercise, we unfolding rocket boosters, long arms, strong fists, fists to the inside, to the outside, extension, flat fingers. In flexion, strong fists, out, extension, flat fingers. And this was the last time. Instead, and flexion. Now we're going with moderate pressure of the middle part of the lower arm. That is where the extensor digitorum lies, and we want to relax the muscle. And last time. And the last time. And that was this training, and thank you very much. And